In the early 2000s, as China raced into the 21st century with skyscrapers rising in Beijing and global markets opening their arms, a quieter, more terrifying story was unfolding in its rural heartland. A shadow was moving across Provenza, silent, relentless, and blood-soaked. His name was Xinhai. By the time he was caught, at least 65 people were dead, dozens raped, and entire families wiped from existence. Young Xinhai was born on July 29, 1968, in Henan Province, a landlocked region in central China known for its wheat fields, ancient capitals, and dense population. He was the youngest of 3 children, raised in a poor farming family. His father worked in the fields. His mother tried to keep the household together. Unlike many later identified psychopaths, Yang was not unintelligent. In fact, he performed well in school, particularly in math, but his withdrawn, unsociable nature made him an outsider. He dropped out in middle school and wandered, becoming a drifter in a nation undergoing sweeping transformation. By the 1980s, China was deep in the throes of reform. The country's new market economy created opportunities, but only for some. For millions like Yang, it meant poverty, displacement, and disillusionment. With no stable job and no prospects, Yang traveled across provinces doing menial work. He was arrested multiple times for theft, robbery, and even rape. It was his final release from prison in 1999 that marked the beginning of something far worse. Between 1999 and 2003, Yang embarked on what would become one of the deadliest serial killing sprees in world history. His targets were almost always isolated rural homes, far from the reach of police or media. He would break in late at night, using a hammer, axe, shovel, or iron bar, whatever was available. He didn't just kill. In many cases, he raped women and girls, even in the presence of other dying family members. He would then murder every witness, ensuring complete erasure. Let's examine just a few of his known attacks. October 1, 2002, Henan Province. Yang entered the home of a farming family. By morning, 5 were dead. 2 adults, 2 children, and a teenage daughter who was raped and then November 2002, Hebei Province. A family of 4 found massacred in their beds. Blood soaked the walls, and the police had no suspects. April 2003, Shandong Province. 7 people were murdered, including an elderly couple and their visiting relatives. Again, signs of sexual assault were found. He left no fingerprints. He didn't know any of his victims. There was no pattern beyond brutality, only death and silence. Despite the growing body count, no central task force had been assigned. Rural Chinese police departments lacked modern tools, shared databases, or interprovincial communication. Yang remained invisible, changing provinces, sleeping in abandoned buildings, taking odd jobs during the day, and killing by night. He often dressed as a vagrant, moving from one bus stop to the next, blending into a vast sea of China's working poor. It was sheer luck that ended it. On November 3, 2003, in Kangju, Hebei, police were conducting a routine sweep of entertainment venues looking for illegal workers and drug use. Yang was detained for having no ID. A fingerprint match revealed his fugitive status, and a deeper investigation plus DNA samples tied him to several unsolved murders. Under questioning, he confessed. Coldly, methodically, he admitted to 65 murders and 23 rapes. Some believe the real number could be higher. When psychologists and criminal experts were brought in to assess Yang, they were stunned. He showed no remorse, no emotional reaction. Asked why he did it, Yang responded, "Killing people is nothing to me." He claimed he began his spree after his girlfriend left him, allegedly due to his criminal past. In his mind, he was punishing society. Women were objects. Families were symbols of what he'd lost or never had. He didn't believe in rehabilitation. He didn't believe in forgiveness. Some Chinese criminologists have pointed to signs of antisocial personality disorder, psychopathy, and deep-rooted trauma from childhood rejection and systemic poverty. But Yang refused any labels. He didn't care who he was, only what he had done. Strangely, for such a horrifying case, the Chinese public barely heard about it. While local newspapers like Yangzhou Metropolitan Daily reported Yang's arrest, major state outlet Xinhua, People's Daily, CCTV were silent. Online posts were quickly deleted. Keywords related to his name were censored. Why? At the time, Chinese authorities were heavily promoting a narrative of social harmony and progress. They were preparing for the 2008 Olympics and eager to avoid domestic scandals that could spark unrest or international criticism. Meanwhile, Chinese coverage of Western serial killers, especially America's Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway, was exhaustive. While Ridgway's 48 victims were dissected in articles and documentaries, China's own deadliest killer remained a whisper. Only years later, through forums and unofficial accounts, did Yang's name regain attention. Even today, he remains lesser known than he should be. Young Xinhai was tried in secret. In February 2004, the court sentenced him to death for intentional homicide, rape, robbery, and theft. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, he was executed by a single gunshot to the back of the head. There was no public statement, no televised trial, no nationwide mourning. But his victims had names, faces, families. Over a dozen towns across 4 provinces had lost loved ones to his rage. He was buried in an unmarked grave. What lessons can be drawn from Yang's case? First, the lack of interprovincial policing coordination meant a killer could cross borders with impunity. Since then, China has introduced a national criminal database, facial recognition, and AI surveillance systems, partly in response to such failures. Second, the media silence surrounding the case highlighted a growing rift between the state and its people. Many believed the government prioritized saving face over public safety. Third, Yang's life is a chilling mirror to a forgotten, underclass rule, criminalized, voiceless. His trajectory from poor dropout to drifter to killer reflects not just personal failure, but also social abandonment. And finally, his case is a reminder that even in a country known for control, sometimes the monsters are homegrown, unnoticed, and worse, forgotten. Yang Xinhai murdered more people than many of the world's most infamous killers, but he did so in silence, in the dark, in a nation more interested in ignoring the shadows than confronting them. This is not just the story of a manit, it's the story of a system, a society, and a silence that allowed evil to flourish. Let us not forget his victims. Let us not forget that he existed, because when society forgets its monsters, it creates the space for new ones to rise.